And you're loading up now, and you're saying that you're fine, but you know that's a lie, believing your truth, so get it right, saying that it's different things. Hello everybody, welcome back to the premiere Madden podcast. I don't know if I'm going to throw in some intro music or if we're just going to do the cold start. Cold start's been the thing recently, but nonetheless, welcome back. First episode of July. We did 3 in June, took a little break. I think we kind of blew the load a little too early with 3 episodes before the rosters dropped, so we've been kind of in the waiting game. Joining me today is Anthony, as always. What's up, bro?
What's up, Finn?
Good to have you back. Excited to talk about more Madden news, as well as our guest on. Also joining us is Rob. Welcome back, bro, from your staycation in Buffalo, but not being on the show. What's up, man?
What's up? It's good.
It's good to have you back. Rob, you are now no longer the guy that's late because of pizza. All right, that was your shtick for years, but now our guest, he showed up a little late from pizza, but I hope it was good pizza. Let's introduce our guest here. We have 2 guests today. We have Mr. Rocklow and Mr. Matthew. How you guys doing?
What's going on? What's up, ladies?
What up?
What's good, guys? Rocklow, I was calling you J-Rock for like the first 5 minutes while we were all talking, and I realized I was calling your wrong name. So if I call you J-Rock, I'm sorry. Horrible with names on here.
At least I know who you're talking about when you say it.
Gotcha. So if you hear J-Rock, I'm talking to you. All right, guys. So first and foremost, why do we have you here on the podcast today? Well, you guys are a part of the United Madden Confederation Peoples of America, whatever it is. Why don't you tell me what the full name is, and then you guys can go a little detail about what y'all are about and what roles you guys play.
Well, my name is Rocklow, and I'm the head of the United Madden football community. And what we do, basically, we started off as a regular CFM. We had a Madden league rolling, and we kind of just grew from there. We have a big community room where we just kind of gathered like-minded people to talk about Madden in a positive way. Different players play different modes, and we're into different kind of things. So we had the league running, but we had the community room that kept growing and growing. And it got to a point where we said, instead of just being a league, we can make this something more. And I got with a couple of guys, and we set out on a mission, and we ended up popping off a second league. So our first league was the UMFL, which is the United Madden Football League. Our second league became Fusion Football League. And we were able to fill that league in addition to our own league. We brought in a whole new staff to help run that league. And so we had 64 coaches rolling, and our community room just kept growing. So today, present day, we're over 110 guys in the community room just talking. That's league coaches. That's some people that just wanted to get in there and talk with us. That's some people that played Madden Ultimate Team and some other things, and we just keep growing and trying to do new and different things as we move forward.
I feel that, and it's good because there isn't a true, I would say, positive Madden community out there. The closest thing you have is Reddit, and if you think that subreddit is positive, then you are smoking something that Rob's you smoking pregame.
Yeah.
But that's good. Matthew, kind of give, what's your role within the whole thing? Tell us a little bit about your history with the I'm going to have to remember the acronym, UMFC, right? UMFC?
Yeah. Well, my main role is I'm Rocklow's father. I handle the radio show. I'm on the staff for I guess the community, I guess you would say. We kind of handle all of the ins and outs, and of course I run the radio show. We started it for just the UMFL, and then we turned it into the UMFC radio. It's been crazy, man, because basically it started as we're just going to talk about Madden. We're talking about how much you love it and stuff. And now it's like we got 2 leagues, like what's going on in the leagues? What are the matchups of the week? Who's dominating? Like who's up and coming? Like who are people talking about? Because once you have a community of over 100 people, and then, you have two leagues going on. People are kind of like, who's nice, like who's got the skills, who's good on the sticks. And then like we have a head-to-head challenge room where, I'll plug that every show and be like, join the head-to-head challenge room, and then just, send somebody a challenge straight up. You think you're better than them, we'll stream it. It's pretty great, man. So, that kind of, if you want to talk smack and do what we did as kids playing Madden, you could do that now, on a higher level with a bigger audience of all the people that love Madden just like you. So that's basically what I do.
Gotcha. I love the idea of that head-to-head room. It's just – and anything, having 120 people at any time that could just pop into the stream and make the Super Bowl game that much more high stakes, and make all the playoff games that much more, the big matchups of the week. I'm taking a quick peek at the Daddy Leagues, like the format. Looking fresh, I'm on the UMFL one. Looks like Houston is the daddy of the league. You may be Rocklow's daddy, but Houston seems to be son
man,
of
who's the Houston coach, Rocklow?
Yeah, that would be him. He would be Houston.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is. You already know. Undefeated, bro. Just running through the competitions, whatever.
So now I do see some interesting things. I'm looking at Player of the Week. I see Tom Brady on the Falcons. I see Deion Jones on the Vikings. Is this a fantasy draft league, or is that just a result of some crazy trade?
Yeah, so what we did for this season, it was the end of the Madden 19 cycle. So to kind of spice things up and change things up, we said instead of going with just let's play with the up-to-date rosters, we took the most up-to-date rosters with the rookies that just got drafted and everything, and we put them into a fantasy draft that was computer generated.
Oh, okay.
And then we had the guys pick teams after that point. So when you went to pick a team, you had to look through the rosters to see who fit what you were looking for, just to switch things up this late in the season,
That's good. I think that's a smart move. Now, I haven't really let the other two talk. Do y'all have anything to ask, anything on the mind regarding the community? I mean, I could go for days with these guys, but we got 5 people in the room, so let me not.
Yeah, I want to know, how do you guys juggle, like, the membership of, like, the 2 different leagues? Do you guys have guys in both leagues? Do you guys have guys fill in from one league if somebody drops? How does that process work?
So how it goes, anybody that joins the community, they automatically become a community member. That's the role they get on our Discord server. We get notified when somebody comes in. Some guys just remain community members. If you decide to join one league or the other, if there's an opening, then I change your role in the Discord server. So you'll no longer be a community member. You'll be a UMFL member. And then you'll have access to the community rooms and all of the rooms related to the UMFL league. And then the same thing, if you join Fusion Football, I'll make you a Fusion member, and you'll have access to the community room and the Fusion channels on the server. There's a handful of guys, me and Matthew, we both are in both leagues. Just kind of, it's good, I think, to have some continuity between the leagues with the staffers. So me and him dove into Fusion when it kicked off. And so it's me, him, and maybe 3 other people that do both leagues. But we kind of had enough guys that it was pretty much enough to fill it without double dipping. But if, for instance, somebody were to join both leagues, they would just have access to all those channels. And they're labeled, so it'll say UMFL scheduling thread, Fusion scheduling thread, or UMFL chat, Fusion chat, just to keep those leagues specific, so you don't have to just be in a big community room trying to schedule and all that.
Yeah, and we have like a waiting list too. So I mean, realistically, if someone comes in, they'll shoot Rocklow a message, or they'll post in the community chat like, hey, like, what leagues are open. So we kind of we always have an influx of people. There's just so many people in the community already that it doesn't seem like we're going to have to be like, hey, I know you play this league. Do you want to move over? Once Fusion gets done with the first year, we're probably going to try to back out of that and then just let, people replace us. So that way we're not double dipping into the league, and just let everybody kind of do their thing.
I have a quick question. So are you guys kind of just like more the merrier, like let's get all the people in here we can? Or are you like selective? Like, I know you like we saw a little bit of the screenshots of you and JT. It seemed like you almost like specifically picked this league out, saying like, oh yeah, like I want a sim league or I want XYZ. You guys go looking out leagues, or is it just like anyone who wants to join, they can join?
When it comes to the community room, we welcome everybody. You know, if you come into the community room and you're just bringing down the whole energy and you're just negative and disrespectful, you're probably not going to last long in that room. But we invite everybody to come take part in the conversation. We talk Madden, we talk sports, we talk everything. So everybody's welcome to the community room. When it comes to leagues, we're not just going out there like, hey, you have a league, bring your league over to our community and join us. It's more of a fit kind of thing. Like fusion football, the way that came about, I was in discussions with a commissioner and a staff of another league who was maybe half full. So they were looking for a merger. So I said, you know what, you guys come over. Your rules link up with our rules. I could take my waiting list, add them to your guys, and we could be rolling from there. And we were almost set to do it, but after going back and forth over just our general outlook on things going forward, it was clear that we had two different ideas of how to operate within the community. So with no hard feelings, we backed away from that deal. That commissioner is still in our community room. I talk to him from time to time. And then we just kind of kept going as normal. And then I came across the guys that are on the Fusion staff now. That's Black Paul, my man Jerome MP. And it was a much better fit. It was more natural. We were on the same page from day one, and they were just down to roll with what the vision was that I had. They had a similar vision, and it's been perfect since they stepped in. So when it came to Premiere, it just the idea of what I was looking at was very nice. I thought it was a very solid setup. So I said, one, let me join. And then I said, two, let me offer an intro to our community and see if that interested you guys in coming together, you know?
Right. I think I made up popping in because I was telling some of the guys before, I'm an Xbox transfer, and I get fucked up by the controller. I haven't played Madden on a PlayStation controller since 08. Fish Young on the cover. So I'm over here throwing slants to the wrong guy, just those quick routes. So I need something at a minimum. So that's good, is to get in there and you're playing guys that are a little bit more sim. I'm really excited about that head-to-head chat. Go in there.
Yo,
I
got a story about that head-to-head chat because Rocklow, one of our staff members, Lee, who is big time. He does review shows every couple weekends where he goes in and he'll stream it on his Twitch account, show everything up. Him and Rocklow are basically not quite mortal enemies, but I would say pretty much rivals. And they just the staff chat got heated, so they took it to the head-to-head challenge chat, and they played best 2 out of 3. And my boy Rocklow with the shocking, surprising 2-1 victory, shocked the world. and my boy Lee was so mad, bro. So mad that he got disrespected by the commissioner, who he just spends most of his time saying is trash. So it ended up working out in Rocklow's favor. I was very proud. I got to watch all the games live on stream. It was dope. So
right. George and Masvidal, them need him in the face, let him know what was up. So my next question is kind of on how you guys run your league. Anytime we bring in a commissioner from another league, we try and get an idea of what makes that league a little bit special or maybe even unique. And the reason why is just because for most folks that listen are in the Madden subreddit or CFM players. So we try and offer a little bit of advice from guys that are more structured on how to run a CFM, especially around this time of year when somebody might be trying to put the league together for the first time. So obviously you guys are really structured. You hear the word staff being used. That might even actually would scare some folks away. You're just like, wow, they have a scheduling, point of contact or schedule. What's the guy's position here? Director of scheduling. Some people might feel that's a little bit too much for Madden League. Some guys, they may feel like it's right in their wheelhouse. So maybe talk a little bit about, from the league perspective, Are you guys a super strict league, maybe in terms of gameplay and rules? Are you looking to make it as sim as possible? Or are you guys just looking to make sure there's as much structure as possible because you're managing 100+ people across 2 leagues?
Yo, Rocco, let me step in real quick. Are we allowed to cuss on this? No,
yeah,
right?
I was just fucking around.
Oh, okay, well, let me just say, like, just like really, like the bottom line for our staff is like, if you're a fucking dickhead, you're gonna get kicked out of the channel. Like, that's just it. Like, just don't be a douche. Like, enjoy the game. Say, hey man, what's up? Like, let's schedule. Don't be like, you broke a rule on accident. Fuck you. Fuck your mom. Like, you're a piece of shit. Like, because that stuff has happened already. And that's kind of what we handle is like people that kind of like, have, issues with, self-esteem and they just take it out there on their opponent. And then we have those tests. That's kind of like, I would probably say, Rocco, like that's the biggest thing that we kind of do.
I would agree. Yeah, disrespect is not really something where fans are tolerating. We just had a guy, we called him the rule book Nazi on every podcast that we did because he was by the book. Every single thing he knew, and he would call you out on it if you made a mistake. You accidentally snapped the ball before the wide receiver got set, something, and he was on it. And I told him that was fine. If somebody's going outside the rules, that's what we want. Let us know so we can make sure everything's operating smoothly. But the way he went about it was just. It was the most blatantly disrespectful, and it was horrible. It was horrible. And I told him, I said, no hard feelings. You can hang out in the community, but you can't operate in the league disrespecting the other coaches because that's not how it's going to work. When it comes to rules, the UMFL, when that kicked off, they wanted it to be sim, like us and the staff. We wanted it to be sim, but we didn't want it to be that you have to have the rule book by your side as you're playing your game to see. Is this allowed? Is this allowed? Did I run the ball too many times? Did I pass too many times? So it's sim, but it's not overbearing in the UMFL. And everybody's kind of on the same page. If you're not an ass, you pretty much know how to play a respectable game. I would say Fusion Football League, their rule book is a little longer. The staff over there, I kind of told them they could keep with their rules when they came in. They thought about dialing it back a little bit to match up with UMFL, but it wasn't really necessary. You don't need 2 mirror image leagues in the community. If one is more strict than the other one, I thought that was fine. So it just depends what you're looking for. I always send somebody to the rule book first, make sure they're cool with it. And like I said, nobody's going out their way to be overbearing when it comes to the rules, just sim. Everybody pretty much knows what that is, at least in our community. So
we've actually done pretty well, I think, in Premier with not having any rule Nazis. I've definitely experienced them before, and they're pretty tough to deal with because like they're right in a sense, but then they're being like kind of illogical at the same time. And it's funny to hear you guys say like the staff because somehow JT manages to do all of this stuff on his own, and I'm glad somebody finally called him out today. And like, what were they calling him, like a lizard man, and like all these kind of like weird names. Like nobody knows how he does everything that he does. Like there's got to be multiple versions of him, or we don't know what he's doing, but he's everywhere all the time, and he's working a full-time job. It's like it's tough, and it's like this is a duty, a job for a staff. Like running a Madden league requires more than one person. And yet he manages to do it just fine by himself. Well, this is one of the smoothest leagues that I've ever been in.
Well, Anthony, let me kind of interject here. I know you're a conservative baby boomer, so let me kind of break this down for you. In the 21st century, automation was created, so that's most of it. I just wanted you to know. Have your grandson Google it for you. Automation.
No, man. I'm talking about like all the like human BS that you have to deal with, like dudes in your DMs whining about this or that.
You know what he does, right? You see what he does is JT doesn't get in the shouting matches. And I've said this multiple times, but Rocklow, Matthew, let me explain to you. My favorite thing about JT is, and this isn't trying to be disrespectful to him, but he's just not. He's not a contender. And maybe the reason he's not a contender for the Super Bowl every year is because he's doing so much other shit. He doesn't have time to practice and play head-to-heads and get necessarily great. He's not bad. He beat me. Now, granted, I was trying to get Tyreek Hill below the yards per catch limit, so I was a little focused doing something else than throwing downfield. But he's not bad. But the whole point is he's not so wrapped up in trying to win his own Super Bowl that he doesn't let anything get to his head. So in terms of things, his losses or strikes that get him, he doesn't get hot-headed. And he carries that over to everything. But what he does in the chat, if Anthony and Rob, is he just waits till somebody says something that he agrees with in the argument, and then he'll just throw an emoji on it, like a thumbs up or like a point up to that one or a little wink or something. Like he just does that. And then
sometimes that's the way to handle. A lot of times that's the way to handle things, though. It's when it gets a little bit beyond that. And I think because he is so chill and relaxed on that is why they don't seem to escalate. But in a lot of leagues, man, they will just escalate and everybody piles on, and then you get little clicks here and there, and you get the cool kids in the chat, and then you get the guys that every time they say something, the whole league rags on them. Leagues can get toxic quickly, and ours has not. And maybe it's a testament to the guys that we've got in it.
Right.
I'll say me and Matt have not with our league, but we've been there. We know a thing about some toxicity, you know.
Oh, big facts, bro. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm not gonna. Okay. How do I say it, Rocklow, without completely saying it? I don't know. It was kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like being in a Madden clan rally. I'm not even kidding, bro. I wish I was kidding, bro. I would jump in the chat and be like, "That's negative." How do I turn this around? But the commissioner and everybody was just having themselves a ball. I had to remove my hood and leave the channel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was wild. For sure.
And the way you manage those moments, because Anthony said it once on one of the podcasts, is he was waiting for the first big argument in the chat, and that's when a Madden League is born. At the end of the day, competition brings out the best, right? So, and competition is going to bring heatedness. One of the things that we've been talking about in our chat, and I'll kind of segue into this because there's some good ideas and some really bad ideas, and what we're doing of a pre-Madden 20 kind of roundtable discussion. And somebody is talking about how if you're a bottom feeder in the league for a couple seasons and you're constantly getting the first or second pick, that we should consider maybe moving you down to a D league and then moving somebody in up. But I just think it's really unrealistic to expect every team to have a guy that can win the Super Bowl. To have 32 users that are capable of winning the Super Bowl from a user skill standpoint, because egos in Madden leagues get so big. And if you just have 32 killers in there that aren't used to getting 4 wins a season, they're used to getting 12 wins a season, it's not going to last. People are going to quit. They're going to roster dump. And I'm sure everybody in here has had to deal with a roster dump before. That's never fun.
Nope.
You guys might not, or I know you don't. I don't think you do. You don't know the story of Scary Lock You Up, but put in the chat later, tag Bacon, and ask him about Scary Lock You Up. But what I was going to say on your point is I think for our league in particular, I think not having those 32 killers, like you said, having having disparity in skill levels, I think it helps breed the content in our league, because we got guys like Old Bucks and Pats and even Bears and stuff. That's where some of the best content comes from. Where these guys are I'm not going to win games, but they're in it for the roster building aspect.
Right. Your league,
and they can see the roster they made out of content, and even though it might not be winning championships like that, it's a good experience for them too, because that's what they're looking for.
A league thrives on active members that are okay with losing games. Because the moment I have a 9-win season in a Madden league, y'all will never hear from me again. I'm out of that league so fast. I'm washed. I just, there's no point. You know what I'm saying? I'm too competitive. But the having guys like you said, for us, our content members, our best content members are guys that are, some of the worst users in the league. Raiders, like you said, Patriots, Rob himself, just being in the content while being a horrible user
Undefeated.
is so how do you guys do content? What's your goal? Is it, I know Matthew does the radio show. Are we doing power rankings? Are we doing weekly recaps? Is it a required thing? Premiere builds their content requirement by lowering the XP sliders, and the more content you do, you're going to earn attributes for your players throughout the season. I know that's not everybody's favorite thing, but that's what JT's built. How do you guys compensate content, and what are you expecting week to week content-wise?
So from a staff standpoint, we have Leet, he oversees our media overall, and like Matt said, Leet does a weekly review show on his own where he's streaming and he's going over stats and looking at everything, and he'll welcome guys to join in on his stream to discuss it with him. Then you got Matt with the radio show, and he tries to have different guests every week. So we try to get different coaches to come on to try to talk about the league so they feel they're a part of the media. I think this week he's bringing on a coach that actually had to step down from the league due to some internet connection issues, but he's still in the community. So
he must live in like the desert or something. He really doesn't have a connect, bro.
But he's coming on, and he's not even in the league, but he's coming on to discuss how the league is progressing. And then we just dropped our first power rankings last week. Yeah, at the last advance. When Madden 20 comes out, the power rankings will be weekly. There'll be players of the week posted, and we're probably going to venture down the route where all the coaches hop on Twitter with team Twitter accounts to try to engage that way. So we didn't want to hit guys too hard when they came in at the end of Madden 19, but for Madden 20, there'll be a lot more going on with that. That's just in UMFL. In Fusion, they have the player of the weeks going on. They have the power rankings going on. And we're just trying to, the media is probably going to be our biggest thing where we try to bring people in. Matthew and Leet, they've done some game commentary, just random games that were going on in the league. They stream it, and they're both in there commentating on it so guys could tune in and listen to them speak on that. And then I reach out to different members to see what areas they think they could help us out in just to make everything better and more engaged.
I feel that. I think, it's a healthy balance. Power rankings, it gives everybody something to argue about, right? That's the first thing that ever. I don't know how it happens for you guys. We drop the power rankings, and it's a problem. And then, but I think what really thrives is having guys that want to see that content. My Xbox League, I would do a weekly highlight video for all the games, but if you want to be in there, you have to submit your clips. I need you to do a little work because having 32 people submit game clips and stuff like that, one person can't be expected to do that unless you're JT, where apparently your full-time job is managing a Madden league. So.
And I also want to shout out this guy Edge that we have in our Fusion football league. He's not a staff or anything like that, but he put together that thing was long. I was driving home and I didn't even get through the whole thing, but he went through the first quarter of the season and he pulled clips from people's streams and he put together a highlight package video, just a bunch of different games. So that was him just stepping up, doing that on his own just to further the content, So it's nice when you have guys that want to do that. Another guy runs a Twitter account where he posts news and rumors out on the Twitter for the Fusion League. So and those
Mad
guys,
Dog, bro, Mad Dog.
Mad Dog. There you go, my man, Mad Dog. He and those guys are just users, and they're just doing that just to progress things, So it's positive there. And I will say, in JT's defense, when you're running the league or you're running the community, you could get caught up trying to do everything yourself. Matt curses me out in my DMs at least once a week, telling me to just let him know what I need him to do so he could help me out. So
yeah, he's stubborn now.
It's like that. So I want to talk a little bit now. We got 10 minutes on the current meeting, and then if we end up flowing once again, I'll just cut whoever's off talking at like a minute left, and then we'll get to that. So there's no, we're not wrapping up just yet. I wanted to get talking about something that popped up in our pre-Madden 20 chat, get an idea of what you guys think about it and how you guys handle it in your league. So this atrocity of a conversation, first and foremost, I hate it. I absolutely hate that this is being suggested. Most leagues operate one of two ways. Either we allow custom playbooks, whether it be across the board offense and defense, or we don't allow custom playbooks, or maybe they'll even go, we'll allow custom defensive but not offensive, right? That seems to be most leagues, right? There's been a suggestion in our league that since we do owners, we don't do coaches, we do owners. Say I pick the Rams and my coach is Sean McVay, I have to use the Rams playbook. If I fire him and I sign Andy Reid, I have to use the KC playbook. I have to use the playbook assigned to that coach. The only way I can change that is if I hire a coach that is one of the created coaches. And then at that point, you're free to use what you want. The one positive I could see from this is that, and Anthony mentioned it before, way back in days, whenever you start as owner, if I have Sean McVay or Bill Belichick, my coaching level is really high. So I'm going to get more XP out the gate for my players and things like that. Maybe some more development traits or more scouting points. Whereas if I have a brand new coach, I don't have that level. So now forcing Bill Belichick to, you have that higher level, but you have to stay on that playbook versus having a level 1 created coach where you can do whatever playbook you want. I guess there's balancing there, but I hate it. Is there anybody that's got a first impression, maybe a different thought, or is it just, am I not alone in this?
I actually kind of liked it, honestly. Like,
all right, I'm muted, Rob. Is anybody else have – my bad, Rob.
Oh, you actually muted me for a second. I just see it on the screen. No, but what I was saying, I was like, I just thought it was a cool idea just because, I mean, in the beginning of the year, even throughout the whole year, if you're not making a custom – it's like guys using the same 3-4 playbooks. And so, I mean, it gets kind of stale after a while watching, like, especially because once, like, the YouTube stuff starts coming out, you'll start playing games and start seeing the same plays over and over again. You say, oh, has to be a meta play. But, like, if you do this playbook idea, not only are you game planning for someone's play style, but you're game planning around, like, every week it has to be something different, or at least somewhat different, because of a playbook. I just thought I don't know if it's something that we should incorporate, but I thought it was a good idea. I didn't hate the idea.
See, I don't even use a custom playbook because I stopped using them when the desync started happening a few years ago. Mm-hmm. I just don't trust a custom playbook anymore, and I still think it's a dumb idea because Madden doesn't allow you to change coordinators. So if I've got a guy like Sean McVay, I shouldn't have to use Wade Phillips's playbook because that's his defensive coordinator. He could easily hire a 4-3 coordinator in real life and run a completely different scheme. So if we're just talking about offense, then that's fine. But what do you do when you have a defensive coach? Do you have to stick to the same offense, vice versa type of thing? Like it doesn't, once they allow coordinators like that would make sense to me. But until we have coordinators, I don't like the idea of your head coach dictating both offense and defensive schemes that you have to run.
Yeah, I'm on that team. I definitely agree. I can't. Man, I'm a diehard Eagles fan, and when the game comes out, I always try to make the Eagles playbooks work for me on offense and defense, and then I just get my ass beat, and I'm just like, I wish I could, use the playbooks that I want to use. So, I mean, I'm definitely down with that, using my own and not letting the head coach dictate that.
I wouldn't. I like the idea of it being everybody has unique play styles. Something I was talking about with Matthew before is sometimes rules get so strict in leagues, and it's
cookie
all
cutter, bro. You said cookie cutter.
I say cookie cutter, right? I want to repeat my term, but it's just like if you join a league and that CM in the past has PTSD of user linebackers, then you're going to see a really weird rule of like you can't move your linebacker more than 3 yards away from his designated zone, or you'll see a guy who hates mobile quarterbacks. He's a Tom Brady fan and he's all about pocket passing. He got destroyed by Lamar Jackson last Madden, so now he's like, oh, I don't want to have running, or he's running out of the pocket or hike and haul. And there's validity to cheese, obviously, and metas. But at the end of the day, just like in any video game, it's a video game. Meta is going to occur, and then meta is going to evolve. And at the end of the day, you're here to be competitive. So I think it's a little bit too limiting because if I join the Rams, just because Sean McVay loves, 13 personnel, just because he's obsessed with single back, no full back, doesn't mean that I am. I want the Rams, or maybe I ended up with the Rams in the team selection or whatever. I mean, if you end up with a Rams and team selection, you're in good hands. But maybe like on the defense, maybe I suck at 3-4. I've never run 3-4. I've always been a 4-3 guy. So I should be able to build the team that I want. It's almost, to me, it's almost as insane to think we should follow, like if we should follow in real life trades. Like say we're in week 7 and then in real life Gurley gets traded for a couple first rounders. Well, not with the knee thing, but for the sake of discussion, that happens. And then I have to do that. And, at the end of the day, it's when the league starts, it's its own separate entity. It's not following the National Football League. I shouldn't have to follow the playbook that Sean McVay has in real life, especially like you said, the Eagles playbook just doesn't really work all the time. And not to mention if a coach changes teams, they normally just keep that playbook. Like when Kyle Shanahan went to San Francisco, both of them had the same playbook. For a couple years when Sean McVay went to the Rams and Washington had the same playbook. The same exact playbook, just different plays of the names. Same formation, same everything. So that's how I feel about it. Now, before we get going, we got 2 minutes left, and I don't want Rocklow or somebody to be in the middle of talking, and I have to cut him short. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. Are we good to keep going, or do you think we should cut it? Got to talk some more about it?
Well, I just want to say before whatever.
Is anybody else ready to talk some more Madden?
Yo! Well, I was going to say that you guys converted me. I kind of think that he is shit now.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm going to send you guys the invite to the next meeting. We'll pop back in, talk some more, and then wrap this thing up. Cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sorry, Rob. All right, we're back. I make a verbal promise to Rob to not mute him anymore.
I don't even believe that at first.
So,
assuming he doesn't say anything stupid again.
Yes.
Rocklow, tell me a little bit. What do you guys do with the playbooks? Is there anything kind of super stringent about you guys? I know you said the rules are pretty laid back. What's if not playbooks? What's your guys' like most strict rule?
Or what do you have banned?
Right.
Yo, let me say something. Hold on. It's the playmaker, Rocklow. I can't playmaker, bro, and it's the freaking worst, bro.
It's the great. Thank you, Rocklow. I'm with you. Playmaker is for bums. Playmakers is for bums. I'm sorry you couldn't make a read in 5 seconds. Throw the ball away.
It's true, but nobody wants to blitz me, so I have so much time.
Sit in the pocket. They'll get open.
I do. I have a good time in the pocket, especially this year. Like if I do it accidentally, I'll just immediately throw it away. Like it's just like a nervous tick now. Like if anybody gets the playmaker, it's just going to be a throwaway. So it doesn't even matter the time of possession or where it's at. But yeah, I would say probably that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing in the rule book at least is playmaker, and and we don't allow custom playbooks. That was a rule actually put in by another guy that helped us start this up, my man Mac Daddy. And I wasn't really sure how the reasoning behind it, but after we had some discussion on it, he had me convinced that it was a good idea. As far as this whole, you're a league owner and you got to stick with the playbook of the coach that you have hired. I actually came across this another league that had the same kind of setup, and for me it didn't really sit well. How I usually operate, because I'm a Tennessee Titans fan, so how I operate is I come in, I play with the Titans, I check out their playbook. Usually it's no good for me, and then I cycle through to see what works for me, how I like to play. I've never been a 4-3 guy, so I usually try to go 3-4. And then just depending on the kind of quarterback I have, I might need to adjust. What good is it having Carolina's offensive playbook if your quarterback's Eli Manning, So I don't really like sticking with those things. I think if you limit custom, I'm a fan of letting guys just kind of operate in their play style based on their rosters. If I have the Giants with Eli Manning and then I make a trade for Lamar Jackson, I have to stick with the Giants playbook now, or do I have to fire my coach now and find somebody that fits my quarterback's play style and my defensive play style? I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it at all. I can't say I see the benefits of it. You limit custom playbooks and you stick to stock playbooks. Everybody should be able to find their way in through there. I've seen rules where maybe they limit how many times you could change the playbooks that you're using. I wouldn't say I vote for that either, but I could see that before sticking with whatever playbook comes with your coach. I'm not down with that at all.
Right, you make a good point. It really limits what you can do in your trading, and it would be wise if you could. I wish there was a way to track it. You could just be like, oh, I want to add in, because this part of football is add in plays into your playbook and add in plays out of your playbook. But obviously, that's, you can't do everything. If you get a league that's too that's too much like real life football, we get back to the whole cookie cutter thing, because people are going to be like, well, on average, you pass 60% of the time and run 40% of the time. And then you got that one dude who's got his fucking calculator out in the game against you. He's running percentages, feeling a little salty about it. What about yards per carry? One of the big, not yards per carry, yards per catch. So one of the big things that I've seen across almost every league I've been in, and we're moving towards air yards per catch, which is just obviously the amount of yards you have minus your yak for the receiver, and then you divide that by receptions, and that's how your average air yards per catch. And then we limit that, I think, to like 17 to 19 yards. Do you guys have any weird rules like that to try and limit, maybe the passing game or just kind of offensive cheese in general? Like, okay, cheese is going to exist. Yeah, you're going to throw the post versus cover two, or, you run your Tyreek Hill versus press coverage all the time, but are you throwing slants and drags into that guy as well? Or you guys pretty much kind of let the stats kind of free reign?
We let the stats kind of free range. You know what we did actually, which in the short term, it works out for us. Long term, we may have to adjust. But when we started, the majority of the people that were in this league with us, we've played with them for years. Like, I've been playing with one of my guys on staff since Madden 04. And a lot of guys in our league now, we kind of all cycled through the same league together off and on over the years. So everybody, we kind of already knew how guys were going to fall in line with what is acceptable. So we didn't feel the need to put in any of those little quirky kind of rules. I've seen some of those things as I've been bouncing around looking at a bunch of leagues, and it came off as a little strange to me, but I get it. You don't want 4 verts every time somebody comes out with Tyreek Hill or Brandon Cooks. But it hasn't really been an issue for us, so we haven't even gone down that road. But I could see the rationale behind it. But when you start doing calculations like that, then you're kind of altering how people are playing. Now, I completed a 75-yard bomb to my receiver, and then I caught another 20-yard pass, spun, and took it 80 yards for a touchdown. So now I have to try to get him some slants and some underneath passes just for balance. I don't like forcing balance. I just kind of, ideally, it would just be balanced. So if you keep going deep to your wide receiver, at least in our league, you're going to end up getting picked off. So I don't feel the need all the time, but it's all circumstantial. Some leagues, depending on the makeup, you gotta implement these things because people abuse. So I'll never knock somebody for something like that. We don't have anything even remotely close to that.
Gotcha. You guys put a little ownership on the defenses and stuff like that to react instead of just getting mad in the chat.
We're big into somebody's doing something and we want you to adjust and figure out how to stop it.
Gotcha. And that's a season-long stat. That's not like a per game. We don't really police it or even bring it up until season. If anybody has any, it's basically like, oh hey, it's mid-season. Here are the outliers. These guys are, going deep a little bit too often. And actually, it's funny the reason that the Eagles are open for you to play with right now are pretty much because of this rule. The guy that we needed to make this rule for, it's because he had a guy that he drafted the first season with 98 speed, and literally all he did was chuck it deep. And it was just it got kind of old. I mean, he was kind of tired of it. Like it was the only thing he did, and it worked sometimes. It didn't work other times. we just said, hey, let's try to avoid doing that. So it was and we had the generated rosters or whatever with the college players. It was Terry McLaurin from Ohio State, and we kind of called it the McLaurin rule. And it honestly, it does. Everybody kind of balances out. If you have a number one guy that you're throwing, that's your main deep threat, you're probably getting him involved pretty often.
Right.
So unless you are just throwing streaks with them, you're going to end up hitting that threshold anyways, just out of a natural flow of an offense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we definitely had to. It felt like we needed to make a McLaurin rule. I didn't have any issues with it because we were having some good games, but it was kind of boring to watch and to play against.
Yeah. And I told my staff, I said we could start off with these rules, and then as you see stuff like that, then you implement what you need to make sure everybody's just enjoying themselves and not abusing what's there,
Yeah, but I've always been like big on what you guys said. Just if once you know it's coming too, and I think that's probably why you guys don't have those issues. If you guys have all been playing each other for a long time, you know each other's play styles. So nobody's really probably head and shoulders above anybody because you know what somebody's going to do in a certain situation. So I actually kind of enjoyed the challenge of, all right, I know that I need to make sure I am watching this guy deep every single play. Like I was like, I'm going to sell out. I'm not going to try and defend the run at all. I'm just going to sell out and stop the deep pass. And so it was actually kind of a unique challenge each time I played the Eagles twice a year rather than, a regular sort of half-court offense, I guess.
And you know what I wanted to comment on? You guys were talking before about how you can't have like 32 coaches that are all killers. What's crazy, when we kicked off UMFL, I forget the count, but out of the 32 coaches, I think 10 of them were former Super Bowl winners. And it's just like, as we were going through the list of the guys that we brought in, it was like killers top to bottom, with this, it's like a small handful of guys that maybe might not be able to keep up. But I think it's when you got a roster of guys that are like all just legitimate killers. I got a guy, I think he won the most Super Bowls from the league that we used to be in together, and I don't even think he's going to make the playoffs right now. It's quite the wrinkle when you have a different kind of balance.
Maybe it's just because it's a PlayStation League.
Oh, damn.
Hey,
the shade is real.
Hey, I told these cats don't make me come to this league because I didn't play their first season. And then season 2, I went undefeated. I did lose in heartbreak fashion in the AFC Championship, but it is what it is. So now Madden 20 is on the horizon. We have the rookie ratings out. We have a diehard Titans fan. We have a diehard Eagles fan. We have a diehard Cowboys fan. Rob, what was your favorite team? Oh, did I unmute him?
No, I muted myself. My favorite team is the New England Patriots. Diehard fan.
Rob's a Bills fan. So has the rookie rating swayed?
Joke, Rob. I'd mute him for that.
Are any of you guys going a different path? What stood out to you?
If you want, I'll go first for this one because this is something I did see. Edward Oliver. Okay. I mean, man, was he like a 79 rating, second best of all rookies? And you got Tyree Jackson coming in ahead of what's his name, Daniel Jones. Those are gonna be loaded. I mean, I've been saying this, but
the Bills are gonna be loaded because they have a 64 overall backup quarterback. And
I'm trading him. Tyree Jackson. I don't even care. I fucked Tyree Jackson. He went.
You fucked Tyree Jackson?
I fucked him real hard.
So talk about. I could not mute him there, guys. I had to do it. Rob gets a little out of hand. I said PG-13. We already used our one fuck. You can't say it again. Don't you understand how movie ratings work, Rob?
I'm sorry.
All right, you have one more. You got one goddamn. You can't use fuck anymore. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we've already maxed out. Hollywood Brown and those Ravens now look insane. For some reason, they decided to watch Lamar Jackson tape, watch him throw the football last year, and then decided somehow, some way he was going to be superstar dev over Carson Wentz. who had an MVP season, tore his ACL, scored a touchdown, and
We're not going to talk. We're not going to get into that whole thing because I have lots of vendettas with that with EA guys. But yeah, continue.
So fun fact, we're all boys with Dustin here, the ratings guy. But I got a buddy who's also Eagles fan who tells me that he's convinced that the guy only makes the Eagles good by buffing everybody's awareness, but their actual ratings suck. But the high overalls because he buffed awareness on all the players, and that's it. Do you think that exists? That he's just trying to find ways to make the Cowboys the best roster, or?
Yo, you know how like when someone says something and smashes, like it's just like glass breaking, like revelation. Yeah. Yo, I might be down with that revelation. That makes a lot of sense, honestly.
It's like, they're 90 overall roster, but how do they only have one X factor on offense?
Yeah, we had like the best ranked team, and then you look at the squad and you're like, oh, well, okay, well, I guess I don't know how we're good, but I mean, I guess it's cool.
But they don't have very many physical freaks on their team. If that's what you're looking for, highest strength, highest speed, like they're all like solid, well-rounded players, like Brandon Graham's and whatnot, and Derek Barnett, like. Those type of guys, like they like their well-roundedness. Like they don't draft the flashy guys.
But no, I mean that's the thing is we just have a real deep team. But I mean you have guys like Ertz that just
what about Sweat? What's his
name? Montez Sweat? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Josh.
Oh, Josh Sweat. Yeah. Sorry.
He's a freak. He's got crazy attributes.
Crazy speed. One of the things that I was talking. Me and Matthew had like a full podcast before you guys showed up.
That's true.
We were talking about linebacker speed, right? I don't know if you guys saw the rookie ratings, but Bush, White, Cashman, all linebackers, interior linebackers that had 90-plus speed. And we were talking about how obviously you're very limited by passing trajectories. I'm really excited. We talked about that on the beta discussion, that the passing trajectories look great. Do we think that linebacker speed is going to be buffed across the board, and that it's not just the rookies, but I think it's buffed across the board to kind of mimic that. Because if you take this passing trajectory thing and you make it to where only two linebackers, that being Luke Kuechly and Bobby Wagner, can make those crazy picks, and then you keep these guys at their speed, especially the draft class linebackers, which I don't think I've ever seen an 88, 89 speed drafted linebacker in any of the custom classes. Do you think that that'll get buffed, or are we going to find it? Is it just going to be the same, and it just happens to be a fast class of rookie linebackers?
That's a great question, honestly. I feel like speed is going to be so necessary to cover kind of that second level, and then right behind where if you're running that cover two, like where you would throw that deep blue with like a 80 overall middle linebacker on a cover two that's going to cover the whole side of the field because he's so or the way that the system had worked before. But I don't know, man. I think that, like I was telling you earlier, I use, Deion Buchanan like crazy. And I like the fact that you guys can throw a safety in there in the sub linebacker position. But, I think for the realism of the game, you can't do it. You can't, I don't think you can have 90 speed for a linebacker because you're not running. They're not going to run with Tyreek Hill. Like, you're not going to see them running with guys that are super fast. They're going to have to find that threshold, though.
That's still 9 speed faster. 4.5 seems to be the threshold for 89 speed. Blake Cashman ran a 4.5, has 90 speed, right? So around that time seems to be where the 90 speed threshold is. And if they're telling me that the whole focus this year on ratings being better spaced out, that 90 to 99 speed is even going to be bigger than it has been before, which is why I think they'll move that speed up a little bit, because that 90 to 99 gap, that 89 to 90 gap, it's that much bigger. And there's a lot of guys that I think have been kind of robbed on their linebacker speed. But then there's guys like Tavai, the Detroit Lions second-round pick, nobody knows who he is, who ran a 4, I think he's still running his 40, and he has 83 speed. So that's why I was like, are we just kind of juicing linebacker speed just a little bit, because he's slow. He's not just kind of like a slower. He's slow, and he's got 83 speed, which is Anthony Hitchens had 83 speed this past Madden. So that's where I'm a little confused in terms of the speed. Are you guys kind of prepping anything, any changes from any of the Madden 20 news that you guys have heard at all? Or are you just kind of waiting to see how the game plays?
I like to wait and see. Let it drop. Let the adjustments be made, and then we'll go from there. Because it's hard, I think, to make adjustments and rules and game plans when you haven't seen how the game plays. And if you go off of the beta, then you're all kinds of in trouble because I doubt the final product's going to be similar to that. So I'm a patient, wait and see approach.
And that first patch is going to completely change the game that we learn anyway. So
They need to stop. They broke Madden. Madden 18. Madden 18 was a game. How do I tell them just stop patching? Stop doing major gameplay patches. Madden 18 was so solid out of launch.
Dude, so good. I agree.
They patched it and broke all Madden. And then Madden 19 I felt was solid. It was better than 18, but then they patched it in February. They patched the quarterback accuracy, and it just blew my mind how many passes were just completely off by quarterbacks, just completely thrown over right to safeties. Just bonkers to me. They need to not patch it. I thought the beta played extremely well. And another point to bring up that safety to linebacker that we do it in Premier Madden League. Apparently, the interception range restriction is tied to the position of linebacker and sub-linebacker. So
I heard that.
Even moving a safety to that spot is not going to guarantee you're going to get crazy animations. You're just going to be able to cover better in man coverage and zone because you have a DB back there. But per Mole, he said that Mole being one of the gameplay devs, he said that you should be sacrificing. I know in the past you could run safeties at linebacker and not lose any run defense, but now it looks like it's heavily going to affect it. So Madden is trending. Madden's trending in the right direction when they'll release a beta because they didn't do anything by this year or this time last year. We didn't have any news on Madden 19. Rosters hadn't dropped. We hadn't even seen gameplay. So they're proud of this game for sure. So I'm super excited about that. We're going to get this wrapped up here. My wife has been waiting to watch Stranger Things with me, so I got to get going on that. But the one thing I like to kind of ask some guys that they've had on all our guests that come on the podcast is if you could add one thing to the game, whether it be gameplay, whether it be an equipment item, whether it be a game mode, what would you add to the game and why? We'll start with Matthew on the block here.
Yo, honestly, one of my favorite things about any football game was the halftime and weekly shows that ESPN did with NFL 2K5. Honestly, I thought that kind of made the franchise mode a million times better. I think that from a gameplay standpoint, everything that I kind of thought about and wanted as far as like the speed and things, we talked about it before the show tonight. But with Madden 20, they kind of have slowed the game down and made the adjustments that I kind of wanted. But that presentation, that ESPN, I don't know how you guys feel about NFL 2K5, but the presentation on that game is probably something that we'll never have, in the near future. But it was just absolutely insane for me, and it was such an immersive football experience, which is why I loved it so much. So I would probably say that.
Yeah, I know Anthony's a big fan. When his son was in high school, they used to play it together. So Anthony's a big
I'm the old guy.
Damn, yo.
Oh, good. But yeah, now here's my issue, right? Is because of the way the games get played, you might be the first game to play in your league's franchise, so there may not be a halftime. So I wonder how it's going to be able to manage that, to pull clips, because obviously it's going to want to breed a game. Your game might be the Sunday night game, so in the game's mind, all the other games have happened already. How are we going to pull highlights from games that haven't happened yet? I know that's one of the stopgaps to that happening is there may not be games played or may not be able to process all of them in time or pull the highlights. So, but anything. Just
a weekly review would be nice. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe a last week's review after it's stored all the highlights. Maybe it'll play last week's stuff. Or maybe an available video after advance occurs, it processes a video and then it does like its own weekly recap. Does that make sense? And then you can hit watch. You can watch all of your stuff, all the teams like big highlight plays that the game decides with that cheesy dude doing the announcing. But I think that would be dope. What about you, Rocklow?
I'll co-sign what he said. I was a big fan of the presentation. Playing online leagues, I probably would skip halftime shows and everything like that anyway. But I think a weekly wrap up would be respectable. I remember Madden, they even went down that road back in I think '07 to '09. They had that Tony Bruno radio show, if anybody remembers that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that I thought they were trending in the right direction because that was right off the heels of the 2K shutting down, I believe. But yeah, they started off with that, then they stripped it away because they used to analyze draft prospects, rookie classes, games, a bunch of stuff, and then they just got rid of it, never to return. But the presentation is definitely lacking, even when it comes to players going for MVPs or Defensive Player of the Years. You would think there'd be more emphasis on it as opposed to let me just go look through these tabs to see who's first, second, and third. So I would like better presentation. And when it comes to gameplay, I think the man-to-man defense over the last few years has just gotten worse. I think it's horrible. You could have a shutdown corner. He's going to get beat by an inside post 9 times out of 10. The way I see it, I'd like them to improve man-to-man defense at least for the top cornerbacks out there.
Right.
Other than that, those are my 2 things.
I think bracketing and crossing, or switching in man. There's no switching in man in the game. So there isn't a true they could do a good job with that, with slant flat combos. If you have low awareness cornerbacks, then they might get confused and switch to the wrong guy. That's football, but because they haven't implemented the concept of switching man based on a route combination, it kind of limits man coverage, so it's kind of easy to figure out what works and what doesn't work. You see cover 1 out and up, you see just man in general, a slant's generally going to be open. So I feel you on that. Anthony, you got anything to add that you would like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping with the ratings gap that those things will, like the man coverage will be something that improves just with that alone. That if you're, a good corner facing a bottom tier wide receiver, like he's going to be able to lock him down. But we'll see. I mean, I think that what ends up happening is because I don't know if you guys remember when 19 first dropped, everybody was raving about man coverage is finally back. Like, and then
wait. Are you talking about Madden 2019 or 1919?
Oh my god!
Hey,
you wish you were still winning bowls when you were 31 years old, son.
See, like if I said that, I would 100% get muted because that was fucking horrible.
my bad. Rob was talking. I had to mute him.
He's just a hater because he quit, and his best chance to win a bowl in our league. And
what was my record when I quit?
I mean, yeah, who quits with a 12-0 record, man?
All right, thought so. I got bored, bro. It's June. It's June. I'm ready for.
Yep.
I'm ready for the next.
Vikings
Madden,
called him on it. Let's end this so I can go ahead and give old Rocklow here welcome to the league.
So, right, there you go. Rocklow and Anthony are going live here soon. Hopefully we post the link in the PML chat. I went ahead and joined their community chat now if you're interested after hearing the podcast. I hope it's not an elite group because I'm about to tell everybody how to get into it. So daddyleagues.com/UMFL. And then there's a link right in there to their Discord. Join if you're interested. Subscribe to the podcast. Looking forward to have you guys on in the future and playing against you guys in the leagues.
Absolutely, man.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Y'all be easy. And that's all for this week.